And it looks like he may have found a new target. You could get anyone you wanted banned literally whenever you want. The f you clause. We can just do whatever we want. I'm sorry, but this is just code. Does MrGirl have $250,000? But yeah, this just seems like an absolutely hopeless case. Obviously, you know, the stuff with MrGirl is kind of dead in the water now. The article came out and stuff like that. I've kind of spoken about this before, and it's something, obviously, that you can observe if you follow MrGirl's like career. But MrGirl has always got to have a big bad, right? That is like Max's whole operating procedure. When he's making content, he needs to have some big bad to pursue and to go after, okay? Time to look at a third dying creator's numbers. Well, look, if you've got, I don't know how to find the Rumble statistics, but I'll happily look at them if they're available, okay? I just don't know where to find them. But yeah, so Max has always got to have like a big bad to go over. And obviously now with the kind of Destiny situation having come to an end, the article's come out and he's trying to move on. It does feel a little bit like, if you look at his actions over the past few months, it feels like he's been kind of probing to try and find the next person to like go after, or the next what. Because for example, do you remember for a little while at least, he was going on about Mr. Beast. Like there was a little flurry of activity where he's being critical of Mr. Beast. And that seemed to kind of die out. But there does seem to be this pattern where he's always trying to like find the next person he can go after and stuff like that. And it looks like he may have found a new target. And he's going big on this one. He's going big on this one. He's going for YouTube. He's going for Google, Alphabet. He's going to the tippy top, all right? Now, look, before we get into this, I'm just going to say the very obvious statement here, okay? Right? It is, unless you're like, say the EU, unless you're like a big trading bloc or a big country or something, it's very difficult to go up against these massive corporations, all right? You need to have a really strong case. Normally, you'll be able to win out if like there's an area where there's a lot of good protections. Like, for example, if you work for Google and you get let go in unfair circumstances and you can claim like unfair dismissal or something, that's something where, you know, you can potentially win out against the big boys, right? Okay, that's the way you've got protections and there's routes you can go down and like tribunals and stuff like that. So that could be a good thing, right? When it comes to like getting banned from the platform though, which is what this is about, that's where it starts to get a bit trickier. Because the problem with a lot of these agreements that you have, and this is something that as a content creator you're going to be aware of, the way these contracts are set up, if you read them, basically are these platforms can just get rid of you if they want to, just for the hell of it, right? If you drill down into the detail of it, there'll be like some sort of words here and words there that maybe say a certain thing this way, say a certain thing that way. But if push comes to shove, these platforms will just get rid of you if they want to, right? Twitch is the same. Twitch has basically got something written in their TOS somewhere that says something along the lines of like, if you do some content that we don't like, we'll get rid of you, right? The thing that means, the reason that they don't do this is because obviously they need all of us as content creators to make money. But if it gets to a point where they just feel like generally you're too much of a risk and you're going to cause a risk to potential advertising revenue in some way, that's when they're going to start to come with the, you know, the guillotine, okay? So generally speaking, you're going to be fine. But if you're too much of a risk, normally a publicity risk that could lead to marketing issues, that's where you're going to get the chop. If you look at people like, say, for example, Alex Jones, I've got no doubt that there's probably some way you can show that Alex Jones broke the terms of service and you know, point to that. But generally speaking, Alex Jones was too much of a liability and was let go. And I think if you look at other people that received like a mass ban across different platforms all at once, not that that's the case with Max, but generally speaking, there isn't often a single justification that they give. And there, generally speaking, is unlikely to be any meaningful legal pushback that you can give because of the way that the contracts are written, basically. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know for 100% that you definitely can't ever win, right? But I think broadly speaking, you're on an uphill battle because these contracts are written so they side pretty enormously with the platform, right? So yeah, you're kind of screwed. You're kind of screwed. Max was taken down because Nazis mass flagged him. That is incorrect. That is wrong. That is wrong. Whilst the initial reason that YouTube looked at the channel, maybe because of some sort of mass flagging attempt, you could argue, okay, YouTube are not going to indefinitely suspend you from their platform unless a human being looks at it and feels you've broken the rules, okay? Because YouTube, you don't understand how YouTube system works. You cannot be indefinitely suspended and that then to stick off the back solely off of mass reporting, okay? There's always, at some point in that process, going to be a human being that makes final decision. And then if you appeal it, eventually it will reach another person who will make a second opinion, right? Now, I don't know about the exact inner workings of YouTube, but my understanding, based on my knowledge of how these things tend to work, is that's what would happen. Because think about it. If you could genuinely get indefinitely suspended and that were to stick off the back of mass reports, you could get anyone you wanted banned literally whenever you want. Because all you'd need to do is generate a community of people that you can guide enough, that's got a big enough number, and you can just mass report a channel and get them taken down whenever you want. So it wouldn't make sense, would it, to do that? Because channels would be getting unfairly banned left, right, and center. For most of these platforms, the reason people are going to get suspended or something like that is a frontline moderation staff member will make a decision that perhaps is incorrect or isn't aligned to what the company wants. And then they'll get a second look at it and they'll either change their mind or go, no, this is the correct decision, right? Broadly speaking, that's roughly what you're looking at as a process, okay? So this is the problem that you've got with this case, is that at this stage, bearing in mind that YouTube have reviewed this multiple times, and my understanding is that there's other people that have got big channels with YouTube that have also tried to help with the YouTube ban from various angles, you know, it's kind of like a tough one. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. Anyway, let's read what Max has to say about this and we'll go from there. I'm going to sue YouTube if I can find a good lawyer to represent me. YouTube's business practices are evil. In my case, they banned me for a video 2 years after granting an appeal for it, after my channel was mass flagged by white supremacists. YouTube should be legally obligated to abide by their own TOS. If the TOS has changed, fine, remove the video. But hang on a second. Are YouTube not within their own terms of service if they remove you from the platform? Does anyone know what the wording is of that little policy where they say, can anyone link it to me? Where they say, oh yeah, well, you know, we can ban you. We want to help you stay on YouTube, so remember to do the following. Learn about our community guidelines to make sure your content follows our policies. If your channel got a strike and you think we made a mistake, let us know. You can appeal a decision here. YouTube also reserves the right to restrict a creator's ability to create content at its discretion. I mean, this is exactly what I thought. There'd be some provision that's like, you know, the fuck you clause. We can just do whatever we want. Your channel may be turned off or restricted from using any YouTube features. YouTube reserves the absolute right at its discretion to just get rid of you. This is what I was saying, is like all platforms have got this thing. I mean, look, I'm all for taking it to YouTube, okay? But if you're saying they need to stick to their terms of service, and in their terms of service, they say, we can get rid of you whenever we want at our discretion. But the thing is, the reality is, I don't think you can get YouTube to not have to get rid of this. Because my understanding is that as per the law, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as a business, and again, it's not, you know, but as a business, don't you have every right to refuse service to anyone at any time for any reason, as long as it's not based on a protected characteristic? And the other thing to bear in mind as well on top of this is that how many Republicans, right-wingers, there's a list as long as your arm of absolutely loads of right-wing people that have been banned from social media in circumstances that people have been extremely critical of. So I'm like, well, surely someone would have succeeded by now in dealing with this, especially when you consider you have got like big rightoid orgs that have gone to fight this battle and seemingly gotten nowhere with it. Wasn't PragerU? I'm pretty sure PragerU at one point said they were going to like take YouTube to court, didn't they? Like, what happened to that? It probably didn't go anywhere, and they quietly moved on from it, I'd guess. Crowder succeeded. Succeeded in doing what? If this happens, you're prohibited from using, creating, or acquiring another channel to get around these restrictions. This prohibition applies as long as the restriction remains active on your YouTube channel. Violation of this restriction is considered circumvention in terms of service or new channels. Any new channels you create and acquire, or channels which are repeatedly or prominently featured. Oh. Channels in which you're repeatedly or prominently featured. That's worth bearing in mind. So if you got banned, you probably wouldn't be able... So this is interesting. Obviously, there's this assumption that YouTube is free reign, but you can't be repeatedly and prominently featured on a channel. See, that's worth bearing in mind. There's obviously Twitch are more draconian, but YouTube do have, some measures against it, I guess. Sneaker tried to get around this, making the editor his channel owner. Yeah, but if you're still featured prominently, it seems like they've got you here too. Yeah. That's interesting. Anyway, so I mean, this is obviously. I just don't understand why people. I think they can take YouTube on like this. What's the law say? Protection for private blocking and screening of offensive material. Okay, what's the fucking headline? Anyway, look, regardless of anything else, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm fairly certain that as a business, YouTube has got the right... Because the thing is, generally speaking, they're going to be banning people because they're concerned about the impact it could have on advertising revenue and advertising interest if they keep the person on the platform. It's not to say that it's good, but it's just to say like that's kind of how it is. And without significant changes to the law or the way that the economics of these platforms work, I just don't know how we're ever going to get around that. Ability to moderate on otherwise objectionable is determined by provider. Yeah, it just seems like cope. I just don't think that this is going to go anywhere. Okay, I thought about this the other day. I actually spoke to MrGirl. This is ages ago. It was in one of our gaming sessions, probably. So you need to take this with a pinch of salt. I can't remember exactly what he said. But he was talking about how there was a piece of legislation that passed in a certain state. And this legislation apparently said that big tech companies were obliged to host content that was protected by the First Amendment. As long as it was within the First Amendment, they had to have it on there. And he was thinking about filing some sort of case back then against YouTube to like acquiesce to that particular law. So I that sounds like an insane piece of legislation that I can't imagine would pass. But he was talking about it even back then. So I think the idea of like taking YouTube to court has been on his mind for some time. I invested years into my channel because I agree with their TOS. If I'd known the real TOS was, if Nazis find you offensive, then we'll ban you, I would have done something else since 2017. I'm sorry, but this is just cope. The decision to ban him isn't based on Nazis finding him offensive. Like, what does he think? That they got their reports in and were like, oh, we got loads of reports, ban the channel, that's it, done. This is a decision that someone at YouTube has made. And rightly or wrongly, whatever you want to say about it, this is a human being at YouTube that's gone, right, we're cutting it off for whatever reasoning they've got. It's pure exploitation, and on top of that, the unjust bans across all platforms have a chilling effect on speech in what has become the public square. We're becoming a zombified, artless, and hateful society as YouTube stomps out our humanity for their own benefit. People keep recommending that I keep trying to get my account back or make a new one. Fuck that. I don't want to go back to the cutesy cartoons and veiled threats. If YouTube want to give me my account back, I'll give all the money it makes to a fucking lawyer. Oh, this is a different part of the terms of service. For those of you saying YouTube can terminate your account for no reason, read the TOS. If they themselves approved the video 2 years earlier, then how did that same video breach the agreement so badly as to warrant a lifetime ban? YouTube reserves the right to suspend or terminate your Google account or access to part of the service if you materially breach the agreement. We're required to do so to comply with the legal requirement of court order, or we reasonably believe that there has been conduct that creates or could create. Yes! This is exactly what I'm talking about, where there's always a term in there where it's the fuck you clause where they can just go, yeah, well, you broke that. See you later. Liability or harm to any user, other third party, YouTube or our affiliates. Like, you realize that this is so broad. This is so broad, they could do anything they want. I don't know, man. This just seems like such a cope. Because you could argue quite easily that certain types of content that Max does, it creates a liability or harm to YouTube just for the purpose of advertising. We can't run ads on this person's content, and it's such a substantive risk that it's going to affect the rest of the platform for this, and this reason. Like, if you're posting videos about non-stuff, I mean, on YouTube, you can't even say... You have to get around, if you want to monetize your video, you have to say... You can't say the P word. You have to say something else. You have to replace it with something. Well, you can get monetized if they look at it, but generally speaking, just saying the word is an instant demonetization because they don't want to run ads on videos that are related to that topic. So if you make substantive content about it, like, of course they're going to, like, I don't know, man. Like, it sucks. It sucks on a broad scale. You can't make whatever you want, but, you know, YouTube's fucking rules. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's kind of, you got to play the game. Look at iHypocrite in the replies. It's kind of random, isn't it? Good luck. You probably need $250,000 bare minimum for a lawsuit like that. Thank you. Does MrGirl have $250,000? Also, yeah, if it's YouTube. Like, that's barely going to touch the sides. Right, come on. Right, stop Peppy posting. Enough. No more. No more. Oh, yeah, this was funny. So he did a chat GBT thing. I want to sue YouTube for terminating my channel over a video which already approved years earlier. Who would be a good lawyer to assist me with this? All of these lawyers that they're recommending are about intellectual property disputes. Copyright and trademark infringement. I mean, this one maybe is a bit more relevant. Focus on representing YouTubers and other online content creators. You need the copyright. No. Fucked it up. You need a contract lawyer. You need someone that knows contracts and knows how to, you know, to be able to argue that they've made a breach to their side of the contract, surely. Because this isn't about copyright. There's nothing to do with copyright here. It's to do with my understanding of this, purely down to the interpretation of the contract. And bear in mind as well, as we've said, people have tried this already. They've tried to take YouTube to court over this. And I just don't think it's got any legs. I just don't think it's just a money sink. It's just a literal money sink. In the US, with the supremacy doctrine, state law cannot override national law, which the state law does. It is not enforceable, especially on appeal when it goes to the federal circuit. It is no case. Oh, you mean the Texas thing of, like, they have to host stuff that's First Amendment approved or whatever? Because, yeah, I just don't think you can force a business to associate with anyone as long as it's not on the basis of race they're disassociating, right? And the other thing as well, I think... Bear in mind, right, Look at a platform like Rumble. The righties have realized that they've got no hope of taking down YouTube or like getting them to change their rules. The best bet you've got is to create an alternative. That's it. Like, it sounds defeatist, but we're talking about like, it's like, I don't want to say David and Goliath because that gives a false sense of hope, but it's just hopeless. It's like trying to assault an insurmountable fortress of unprecedented scale. I think Rumble is the solution. The final solution to the YouTube problem is Rumble, not trying to sue YouTube. Yes, Rumble is an absolutely phenomenal competitor, and I've been very impressed with some of the moves they've been making, I've got to say. Like, for example, they've just secured an exclusive show with SUING and Kai Cenat. That's like insane. That's like an insane get for them. So I think Rumble is genuinely has become a great alternative to YouTube in ways that BitChute, Odyssey, and other platforms haven't before. I think that Rumble suffered at first with its reputation of being the place that right-wingers go when they get banned. But now they're making actual substantive moves towards getting content creators that are able in other places, but they go to Rumble because, there's some value in it beyond just being somewhere you can go when you get banned from everywhere else. Is there stuff wrong beside politics? Yeah, vaccine denialism. I don't know. That's kind of politics, I guess. But yeah. And obviously Kick is not exactly, Kick is more of a, like you said, streaming thing, but that's also another great alternative to the kind of current ecosystem. Yeah. And I think that we're at a time where this stuff is really sort of catching on in ways that hasn't before. And watching stuff on Rumble is a genuine, credible alternative to YouTube for the first platform that I think has really got to that place. I've never actually looked at it, but what is Rumble's terms of service? Oh, this is for investors. Where's the actual, where's the hate speech policy? Guys, where's Rumble's hate speech policy? One thing I did say, I think I put this on Twitter as well, but it's like, so Kai Cenat and SUING are going to do a show on Rumble. Is live chat going to be on during that stream? Because I've got to be honest with you, I've seen a couple of live Rumble chats things, and let's just say the free speech is flowing in those chats. Let's just say there's a lot of free speech going on. And by free speech, what I mean is repeatedly saying racial slurs. That's what I mean. So, it's whatever to me. I think it's funny in some ways. But, I just imagine being SUING, premiere, first show on Rumble. You look at the chat and it is just endless slurs. Yo, no towers, chill out. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying any words. It's the home of gamers. True. But yeah, I don't know. This seems absolutely hopeless, honestly. Oh, hang on, look. They've got some rules on this. You may not post or transmit any message which is abusive, inciting violence, harassing, harmful, hateful, anti-Semitic, racist, or threatening. Yeah, I guess this one isn't being enforced too strongly. I mean, they've probably got that in there so they can go to advertisers. Oh, look, guys, look. Now, come on. Hate speech is not free speech. Look at this rule here. But the actual chats. Yeah, it's more of a guideline than a rule, I think. Yeah, more of a guideline. There are guidelines and then there are rules. It's because Rumble is publicly traded. Oh, is there a link to any story on that? You're saying shareholders are responsible for this. I actually set up a Rumble account, but I've not used it at all. We just, obviously we feel like we're pretty safe. But But, you know, we're not like massively focused on it. Anyway, there we go. Rumble is the answer, I think. Although I've not heard of anyone being indefinitely suspended from Rumble ever. So I guess that they're okay with quite a lot of stuff because some of those Rumble streams get pretty spicy. Anyway, sorry, we weren't supposed to be looking at this. How much are you willing to spend, or are you trolling, or just want to show how unhelpful Google was? A lot. Google getting banned probably cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. But I also think their business practices are literally evil and horrible for the world. Does he understand how much a lawsuit against a big company like this would cost? And also, it's not just that as well. But these companies are like, you know, it's a bit of a meme from like The Simpsons and stuff. But they have got lawyers out of their fucking ass. And these lawyers are like complete and total experts in every possible angle and argument. They fought like 20 arguments ahead of whatever 2-bit lawyer you're going to get. Like they are like 20 steps ahead at all times. And they know the ins and outs of this stuff like no one else. And the only time, apart from like individuals going to tribunals and stuff like that, the only times that people have been able to strike blows against a company like Google is if it's from like a trading bloc like the EU. And they've got their own seat of power that they can use to score some blows. But as just a random person, it's impossible. And the other problem too is like YouTube have got a pretty strong case as to argue as to why they decided to permanently remove him, because he's got a bunch of content on there which inarguably is a risk for advertising revenue. You know, it sucks, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I agree with it. Listen, I think it's very restrictive sometimes and it's annoying. But if you look at it from the way their terms of service is worded and stuff, I just think that their argument, even without all the fancy lawyers and shit, it's like pretty solid. The reversements are sick. What are you talking about? But yeah, this just seems like an absolutely hopeless case. What are his community saying about this? What's his... I've not actually looked. What's his subreddit saying? What's the verdict on this? Are they excited to see him battle Goliath, the Goliath of YouTube? No one's really talking about it. His community subreddit. Oh, sorry, yeah, I should go and dig into the depths of his retarded Discord to see what people are saying. That sounds like a good idea. Actually, Queen, you probably are the best representative of this. What is the MrGirl's official community position on all this? He will lose. Well, there we go. But yeah, I don't know. This just strikes me as, you know, like I say, an effort to have a villain. And what better villain than YouTube, hey? But we'll see. Maybe this is the next big thing. Maybe he's going to do a video about it. Who knows? Straight from the horse's mouth. Well, the thing is it feels like he kind of moves on without actually going back to what's come before. Well, probably to Rumble, I'd imagine. Maybe he's going to start streaming on Kick. Honestly, he probably should start streaming on Kick. That's probably a good idea. But his little morals are getting in the way. He must have some money coming from somewhere. He's turned off super chats, right? He decided to turn off super chats on his website or something. He's Jewish, Chud. Okay. You understand that's a joke, right? Just because someone's Jewish doesn't mean they've got an unlimited money fund available to them. He refuses to monetize on Kick. He's self-harming. He's broke. Well, Smeth has got the somewhat of an inside scoop, I'd guess. I know you were on the show with him the other day. Well, I know you presented it as you were like some sort of co-host, but I think you just went on his hotline, didn't you, and talked about some weird sex shit, probably. Probably some degen shit, I'd imagine. Anyway, look, guys. That's it. That's it. That's all I've got to say on the matter. Wait, you're saying this got removed? I'm not getting. It's saying it's still up on my end. I mean, I'll be honest with you, right? Look, obviously platforms can fuck up and make mistakes and do stupid stuff sometimes. I'm going to be honest with you. Right? I feel like I'm like on more of a kind of like a rule situation, right? I'm just sick of people that want to just flagrantly disregard all of the rules and then complain when they get bit. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, of course you're going to get banned. It's like you know, with the Darius thing. The fucking moron is looking at Tinder profiles on stream, leaking a phone number apparently, and doing other shit, which I don't know about, but been told has happened on there. And he's like, oh, I can't believe I got banned for this. Of course you fucking did. You're like, what do you mean? You write lines. Okay, that is a really retarded response to what I said, okay? Because, yes, I absolutely know what my fucking content is and that some of it relies on the line of what is acceptable and what isn't, right? But if I was to get banned or suspended for something, my response wouldn't be, oh, it's so dumb that I got banned from that. It would be something else. I wouldn't go out and be like, oh, guys, I'm such a victim for getting banned. Like, you got to take the hit. And also, people don't seem to realize that there is actually like a line of the hateful conduct policy, which basically props up my entire channel. But anyway, that's irrelevant. Even so, you know, if you're gonna break the rules or you know push boundaries and you get banned, that's just them's the breaks, you know. Oh look, it's Will. Will the other day was messaging me going, "Oh, why are you so mean to me?" Literally zero self-reflection. Literally zero self-reflection whatsoever.